Also a review of the e-commerce directive, which probably will take place on the next commission. And I think there will be a lot of legislation into this field. Now, my personal opinion is that the European Commission is very likely to legislate a lot of card law in this aspect. I don't know how you do it.
No, I fully agree with what you said.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I'll ask Iulian to step up and to continue on the data protection part of his presentation. But not just data protection with the GDPR, but also other regulatory measures for compliance on digital transformation.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Iulian Matache. I am a freelancer consultant dealing with, let's see, cross-discipline topics like IT, legal, software development, enterprise software rollouts. I will disappoint some of you, I'm not a law graduate. On GDPR topics, I have the two CIPP and CIPM certifications, just so that I avoid some early questions from clients. So I have, I think, less yet 25 minutes to stick to my presentation. So I basically asked the organizer, look, what kind of audience we have in here, so I understand we have people from oil and gas, from banking, from InfoSec, from software development. So I'm going to try to bring in some relevant examples from these industries. Basically, when you speak about digital world, it's a lot easier to explain what digital is not these days. And when we discuss about regulation, there's obviously 25 minutes is not the time frame to cover this. If we think about the 4 stages of learning, I would say we are at 4. So basically, it's unconscious incompetence. You hear someone speaking a foreign language, but you don't know what the language they're speaking. And then someone tells you, oh, that's Mandarin. So then you know, well, that was Mandarin. Now I know the name of what I don't know. So now I'm consciously incompetent. At least I know what we call it. So then you move to conscious competence. It means you're successful if you pay close attention to every step, which means shift first gear, both hands on wheel, the 10 past 10, right, mirrors, and then, and only then, you move to the unconscious competence. You play the piano without watching the keys. So right now, all I'm hoping for is that we at least open up some topics and at least move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. And then we'll take it from there later on. So having said that I'm not a law graduate, whatever I'm saying cannot be construed as legal advice, obviously. This is simply just mapping some labels, yeah? Digital world is depending on industry, things around GDPR, e-privacy regulation, payment services directive, the anti-money laundering, the non-personal data regulation that Bakken was mentioning, the electronic signature, the NIS directive, all under the European Digital Single Market Initiative. Yeah? We probably know that ourselves as a country are a bit lagging behind implementing some of the directives. When it comes to closing the gaps that some regulations leave to national, to member states to regulate, we tend to be very creative. But anyway, so this is simply to let's say, give you a preview of what I'm trying to cover and also to give brief examples for industries that I mentioned. This is normally the reaction that we expect when we tell our customers that they have to comply. It's the why, the what if I don't, the why is it so expensive, and all that. And with some, this is the level of maturity that we see. This is more or less a quote that I picked for showing that with great power comes great responsibility, and the legal framework is always trying to catch up with the natural evolution of the world. There's always this perceived lag, yeah? We have the Anti-Money Laundering Directive version number 5. Number 5. Yeah, the Payment Services Directive is number 2. E-commerce Directive is just revamping now. So just imagine, AML 4 was a couple of years ago, and they realized it's not covering cryptocurrencies. So then tons of money could be laundered via these additional forms of transferring value. So then quickly work on version 5. Probably version 6 is not too far down the road anyways. The digital world, I simply picked a smartphone, but it could be anything. It could be smartwatch, it could be IoT. And now I'm going to correct something I wrote there. FOMO is probably an acronym you're aware of, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out is what gets us into the digital world. We're afraid that there might be something there that we're missing. We have to get back on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn addict. We have to get up back on Facebook, Instagram. Maybe there's something very interesting, very relevant. We're flooded with tons of information. Attention deficit is the psychological disorder of the 21st century. Our kids are already unable to focus on a single task. So it's not just FOMO, it's also excitement. The digital world is excitement and fear of missing out. It's a cocktail of emotions. Whenever we hear about a startup in the digital world, we expect the range of tens of millions to be poured in. It's enthusiastic. People expect it will grow, it will boom. And obviously the regulators have this mission to kind of calm down the enthusiasm because things are developing at a pace that some sort of form of control is mandatory. Skip that. So basically, for instance, in any, I don't know, digital app or blockchain or let's say service, you would normally ask yourself in terms of privacy some questions. I'm not going to, everyone is familiar with GDPR, and this 4-letter acronym has been overused over the past year. We are basically, we need to think, are we going to process personal data, yes or no? If it is personal data, then who am I? What kind of hat am I wearing? Is there a third party that I'm exchanging this personal data with, or part of it with? Are we contractually covered? Are we safe, and have we segregated duties and responsibilities in a healthy way so that when the poop hits the fan, at least we know my job was from here to here, and this is where your job started. And the problem happened on your ship. For instance, picking oil and gas. Yeah, one of my customers now is a major oil and gas company. We have, for instance, difficulties. We're rolling out this document management tool, and we realized we cannot move documents into the cloud. Why? Because some of them contain subsurface data. Subsurface data cannot yet go into cloud, at least not under Romanian legislation. You need to consult with the National Agency of Mineral Resources to explain what kind of data you're trying to move, and you need this explicit okay from them. But guess what? Then months later, you're going to need another set of data that you haven't covered in the first request. So either you get more or less a broad coverage of, yes, you can keep moving to Azure or Amazon or whatever, or you can't. Yeah. Obviously, there's in the oil and gas industry this topics around automation, which is basically more or less any industry. There's this trend to, at least in hazardous areas, to use unmanned equipment, so lots of sensors, lots of things that don't require human presence, which would be endangering them. This is a snapshot of what digitalization is around the oil and gas industry. There's topics like the digital rig. Obviously, staying paper-based is something that oil and gas companies are trying to stay away from. There's also this, going back to the FOMO, there's this I asked one of my clients, why do you need to go digital? I said, we've been told to, and our competitors are doing it. So we don't exactly know where we're getting. For instance, migrating to the cloud. There's not such a clear business case. Is it saving money? We're not sure it's saving money. But for instance, my client has operations in Yemen, and there was a missile that went through the roof of the data center. So although the financial business case may not hold water, we still need to move into the cloud, at least to have the data available, yeah, even if it's negative, banking and fintech, we have the Payment Services Directive, which is creating these new entities. Obviously, Romania is still trying to wrap its head around this topic. The banks have published some APIs, most of them. We will see this evolving. We have the electronic signature, and now there will be some topics which probably will be more or less clarified in court in terms of is electronic signature opposable and creating everything that the handwritten signature is creating. Anti-fraud activities, so obviously also in GDPR there are these derogations for preventing and investigating and stopping fraud, financial crime, let's say. Although that needs to be tackled with care and properly documented. So banks have these systems implemented that every transaction is processed in near real time, and every customer has more or less a profile. So if I never purchased online, I can expect my bank account or my card to be temporarily blocked the moment I make my first online purchase, because you've never done it, so we're not really sure it's you. Obviously, the digitalization topics cover these chatbots and digital assistants. And again, here, we need to remind ourselves that for interacting with customers, there may not be so many risks other than, I don't know, annoying customers with asking the same questions or not. But for instance, calling the shots using algorithms, this might be a sensitive topic. Approving or denying someone's application for a loan using algorithms can be a sensitive topic. We see this trend building. We see these online lending entities that are trying to do these micro loans, fast approval kind of pitch. But at the same time, such entities need to boldly say, if you believe you have been mistreated, you have the right to ask for a human analysis of your application. The right not to be subject to an automated decision-making process. Obviously, the cloud topic is relevant in banking. Where do we keep the documents? The PCI DSS for the payment cards industry, and the electronic signature, as I mentioned. Obviously, with the Payment Services Directive, fintech is growing, and it's supposed, Europe, one of the underlying intents is to create this open banking and to increase competitiveness, so that if the banks more or less have the centralized truth, then technologies like distributed ledgers and opening up protocols would be more or less this distributed truth. So do not allow a small minority to hold the power, more or less. Law firms and the judiciary. Yeah. This is also a very interesting topic. I have been approached by law firms in terms of could we think of a system that kind of gets close to the digital lawyer. There are some very interesting initiatives in the US. There's Ross, the cognitive lawyer from IBM, the legal wrapping with Watson from IBM. But remember the enthusiasm I mentioned. There's a lot of very good marketing, but not such good delivery. These artificial systems are usually very good at screening through thousands of pages and looking for certain patterns. So for instance, there's a company who specializes in M&As, in due diligence, and you feed them tons of documents in the data room, and then they find specific documents that may involve change of control. So you're looking for a change of control in an M&A, and you want this software to recognize this pattern. Obviously, optical character recognition, so normally documents are just documents, pictures, but you need to transpose them into text version. Searching through case law, this is something that law firms spend a lot of money, and it's sometimes deemed to be the low quality work in a law firm. You invest in juniors to do this research so that you find relevant case law that is favorable of your thesis, of the point you're trying to make. Obviously, software can do this much faster than human. And I've read recently that, I think, was it Poland, that with some small stake cases in court, they allow some automatic ruling. So there's an algorithm, you input the data from both parties, and then the algorithm outputs the decision. I'm sure there's a way to actually oppose that and to probably highlight the drawbacks of the algorithm. I have a later slide on this. In the US, this is a very sensitive topic. When an inmate requests an earlier release or a release on probation, there are algorithms who do this risk profile, and they have noticed that black people are twice as much more profiled as high risk compared to the whites. So it could be a bias that's embedded in the algorithm. Let's be fair here. Artificial intelligence was built to fight natural stupidity, which is okay. At the same time, it is rarely a lot smarter than the creator. It does more things than a human. It does faster things than a human. It does things with less error percentage. Not necessarily smarter. We tend to qualify these things as being smarter because I cannot read 1,000 pages in a couple of seconds. That thing can do. So while they are useful, we should be realistic in terms of what they can actually output. And for now, because of the enthusiasm, their capabilities are slightly overstated. So this is a very sensitive topic. Thank God it doesn't happen in this part of the world for now. The e-discovery, Bernard was also mentioning, the getting evidence from the other party. Algorithms are very good at this. And obviously, as we have also in Romania, justice portals. And here there might be some debates also around privacy, at least, let's say, with criminal files. Publishing the full name of the defendant before they are actually incriminated in a final court decision raises issues of privacy, and also publishing the full text of the court decision. That's also a sensitive topic. So we might see some regulations around anonymizing the names of the plaintiffs, at least until found guilty for good. And also in the US, I have read about this capability of the cognitive solution from IBM. They look, but they have the data source, which we don't have yet. We could build on the Romanian justice portal as well. You look at a certain court. Yeah. You look at a certain court, and you can actually see that they have a certain bias. Yeah. Lawyers already know this. They go to court, they see the members of the court, and they go, oh, I know how this is going to end. So this is also a sensitive topic. You could run massive data into an algorithm and actually tell your client, we're looking at a 30% chances of winning. And going this strategy of defense